the Bucks, they fell at home to the Knicks on Sunday. Doc Rivers' record with the Bucks is not what anybody expected. Let's just say that. Since he came, they're 15-16. Remember, of course, under Adrian Griffin, they were 30-13, and he got fired. Milwaukee is only ahead of Orlando by 1 game for the number 2 spot in the East. They could drop down to 3rd. So I think it's been very interesting to hear the rhetoric coming out of the Bucks the last few days. You heard first Pat Connaughton say, we're just not having fun anymore. There's not really that joy. Then you heard Doc Rivers after a game say, hey, one of the officials came up to me and said, your team's so heavy, man. Your team feels so heavy. And then you had Giannis Antetokounmpo after the game last night talk about, again, that same lack of joy. He said, I'm not sitting out here like pounding my chest. And Pat Connaughton said, Giannis isn't making dad jokes. So I do think that sometimes the fix can just be like, can this team have like a team bonding? Can they go get drunk and go bowling? I mean, can they do something like that? I mean, Boogie, have you been on teams where just everything is so tight and everyone just needs to let loose and enjoy each other a little more?
Well, I mean, that comes with, the personalities in the room when you really think about it. Like, these.
But you've been in that room. You've been in that locker room. Giannis, when he's loose, he's happy.
Yeah, Giannis is loose and happy in his own way. Giannis is a guy that's more to himself as well, though. But when it comes to that team just having that personality that can bring everybody together, I think the closest thing they do have is a Pat Beverly. But that voice is only going to carry so much. But it does go to the mixture of guys in the locker room. Like when it comes to most championship teams, it's always that joyous like type energy on that team. And like I said, outside of Pat Bev, it's not a lot there. I think when it comes to Damian Lillard and being that leader and the guy that can bring guys together, he's always shown that. But I think he's going through his own struggles this year with just the adjustments in his own life. So we might not be getting the best version of Dame when it comes to being, a leader for the Bucks. Is he capable of it? Absolutely. But I don't know. It's hard to, hold weight from other situations and, still be the perfect person in your active duty in your job as well. So I do think Dame is kind of struggling with that. But man, it's been a lot with this team this year. They've had a lot of adversity. So and it's hard to sit here and not commend them. They're still the number 2 team in the East, like through all of these struggles. So there has to be some type of, credit given to them on that end. But man, it does seem to be like a heavy cloud over this team just from afar that, I'm not really sure outside of, just bringing some type of a good energy to that team and allowing guys to just have fun with the game. I think it is a lot of pressure. And like I said, it's pressure from the organization. It's pressure from the fans. Guys are dealing with their own personal issues in their personal lives. So it's a lot going on with that team for sure.
Yeah, Rachel, you look at it and we talk about them being a game ahead of Orlando. That one, at least, they've got 2 more games against Orlando. They control their destiny there. Yeah. They're a game ahead of the Knicks, and the Knicks have a season series on them, so that tiebreaker's taken care of. If you tie with the Knicks, they leapfrog you. So this team, we're talking about dropping to 3. You might drop to 4, and now you're talking about something different. But in terms of how do you fix this, I'm going to say this. There's one silver lining to dropping out of 2. And that is, we talked about it last time. If you're 3, 4, 5, or 6, you know who you're playing. Meaning the regular season ends April 14th for teams 3, 4, 5, and 6. They know exactly who they're going to play a week later on that Saturday or Sunday. So we get to spend that entire week game planning and just figuring out how to stop you. I don't have to watch the play-in and pay attention to how someone's playing or whatever. So that is an advantage in and of itself. And because you have that week dedicated, if I'm Doc Rivers and I'm the staff, Monday morning, kiss your families goodbye. We're going on another training camp somewhere, not in Milwaukee, not in Wisconsin. We're going to go
somewhere with bowling and beer.
Bowling and beer, which is also in Wisconsin, I guess up in Madison or whatever. But the idea is we have to sequester ourselves from the outside distractions of people who are not in this locker room. The season was what the season was. The new season begins on Saturday or Sunday. We got to get together and prep that. And that's the only thing you can do. You can hit a reset button in that week if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. And you got to count on, I've got great players, I've got championship caliber players, and I've got people who have been through some deep playoff runs and wars. we know how to flip that switch if it's going to get flipped. But if we stay in this mindset of woe is us and we lost to the Wizards and we lost to the Raptors, that's just going to carry on that stench with them into the playoffs.
That is a great idea, by the way, because that is also the fix. I mean, obviously, I'm joking about the bowling and beer, but the truth is, if you're away for 4 or 5 days as a team, everyone's on the same page, right? Mm-hmm. You get to have the team dinners. You get to hang out in the lobby or hang out in a guy's room just playing, Madden or whatever it is. That you're just spending that time with each other that you're not spending if everyone is going home to their own house. And you mentioned Damian Lillard, book, he's been very public about it. It has been a very difficult personal adjustment for him to be in Milwaukee, away from his kids. I really think that's, it's funny. There's certain guys in the NBA, you come see them, you haven't seen them in a while, and they come across the court and you say hi and you're like, how are you? And the first words out of their mouth are about their kids. There's about 5 or 6 guys I can always count on it. The first 5 or 6 words out of their mouth would be like, oh, my son did this or that kind of thing. Dame is one of those guys. He just is. And I think that he really feeds off of the joy of being able to put the game behind him at the end of the night, be with his family, be with his children, and then come back the next day energized. And he just hasn't had that. And he's been in a place that's frankly cold in the winter, and it can be a little gray, and it can be, I went to school in the Midwest. It can be a lot just sort of weather-wise. And I think that if he's back on equal footing with the rest of the team in like a getaway for 3 days situation where none of them are with their kids or families, then all of a sudden you're kind of balancing that out a little bit better. I love that idea. I love that they would have more preparation, as you point out. And frankly, I would love that maybe for them that they would get out of range of the Philadelphia 76ers, because with Embiid back right now, if they stay in that number 2 spot with the way Philly is playing, they could finish 6th and maybe they end up playing him anyway, but they could play him 7th.
Rachel, the way they're playing right now, you can't be worried about who our opponent might be. They are not right. If they were right, then you can be like, let's avoid them. Let's try to get them. But they got to get themselves right. They got to love themselves before they can love other people, Rachel.